talking about how to build a huge buyers list and leveraging other investors, other systems, other investor buyers list. Okay, and this is a topic that a lot of people are concerned about. It's a topic that some people talk about, but they don't go into a lot of detail. And if you really sit down, and I'm sure that most of you have skimmed over the handout, it has a lot of cool ideas in there and a lot of things that maybe you've never thought about. And if you have other things that you do and you thought about, let's get them added to the list for the future. But there's some things there that are real simple and just sort of common sense when you sit down and think about it. And then there's some other things you probably have never thought about. So we're going to go through all that. But, you know, for new investors, what's one of the big concerns is the fear of, if you find a deal, are you going to find the buyer, right? And you're going to hear some of the gurus out there say, you find the deal, you'll find the buyer if you've got the right deal. Well, that may be true in some cases, but if you don't have a clue how to go generate that buyer's list and how to go find that buyer, you may have a tough time with that. So in my opinion, in all my years in this business and with all my investor students, I keep telling them, you know, just as important as the deal is that buyer. And if you're starting from ground zero, and this happens, people get into business and all of a sudden they find a deal, or they may find a deal and that's caused them to get into the business. I've heard of that happening, you know. But you need to have that buyer's list. You need to know where to go, and that is always one of the challenges and one of the fears of new investors is, where am I going to find that buyer? Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then Joe and I are in agreement on this one. One of the big problems that you have as you progress in this business and are in it for a while is, how do you manage the buyer's list? And we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. But once you get a big buyer's list, how do you manage it? What do you do? What do you need to know? How do you keep up with it? You know, what kind of information do you want from the buyer? You know, things like that. So we're going to go over that a little bit. And you know, for many years, and I'm sure that several of you are doing the same thing, but for many years, my buyer's list was managed in my Outlook contacts. That's all it was. It still is today as part of my list, but it's not completely. Outlook is a great tool. How many use Outlook? Okay. Wow, not even half the group. What's everybody else using for your email?
Web blast stuff?
Huh?
For like a web blast kind of?
Yeah. What do you use it for your contacts management? You know, is it Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail? What do you do?
I use iFlip.
Okay, you use an iFlip. Okay.
Yeah.
Cameron done
It's
that?
kind of a web blast thing. I'm
Okay.
actually thinking about switching over to another. I like his, but there's a couple things in there I've sent them suggestions that I think are pretty easy to get worked out, and they haven't done it. So.
Okay. Anybody else? What do you use it for your contact management?
Entourage?
Huh?
Entourage?
Never heard of it. What is that?
Well, I may be misunderstanding what you're asking, but that's what I use for my email. It's a Microsoft email program, and I just adopted it because I like it in my business.
Okay. Entourage?
Entourage, yeah.
Wow.
It comes in every Microsoft Office. It's in there. It's free, you know.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Never heard of it. Okay. I've been using the Microsoft Office for years. I've been using 2010.
Well, if you look in there,
yeah, there's about 10 items in there that's kind of hidden.
yeah.
You gotta go through and click on several times, and all of
Okay.
a sudden these will pop up. There's
Or
photos.
just go in there and type in, find, you know, your
Okay.
Yeah.
ENT, oh crap.
Okay. Never mind. We'll check into that later. John, what do you use?
I've used a Constant Contact,
Okay.
got rid of it. Eye Contact, got rid of it. What's that? Never did use Aweber, but now I'm using a company called Mad Mimi. M-A-D-M-I-M-I.
Okay.
They're cheap, they're very cheap, and they're very easy to use.
Okay.
What was the name of that?
Mad Mimi, M-A-D-M-I-M-I. If you look at the bottom of any one of my emails, you'll probably see that
Okay.
it says it on
I
there.
had not noticed that you changed, so I'll have to look at that. Okay. So as you can tell, there's a variety of ways that investors are using to track their contacts, and buyers should be in those contacts. I use Outlook.
And I use FreedomSoft
Okay.
because I can put both my buyers, all of my contacts in there, but break them down.
It allows you to categorize the type of buyer.
Yes.
Okay. And what I was about to say is I'm using OpenRoad, which you've heard me talk about many times, and I'll talk a little bit about more of that later. But OpenRoad allows me to break it down by the type of buyer, and then within that type of buyer, I can pick the cities, the price ranges, the specifics about the house, that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's kind of what I'm going to. I still use Outlook because Outlook syncs with my iPhone and my iPad. So I don't want to lose that functionality, but when it comes to actually marketing to my buyers, it's done through OpenRoad. So, and I do that because I can manage it. They have the option to unsubscribe if they've already bought a house and no longer, or if it's a wholesaler, they can, if they're no longer in the business, they can unsubscribe and stuff, so I don't have to worry about that. You can't do that with Outlook. So, so I kind of do both things. And eventually there's plans for OpenRoad to be able to start syncing with iPhone and iPad. Greg Clement happens to be an iPhone guru, so that's coming here in the near future. And I'm hoping that will allow me to stop maintaining my Outlook contacts, but I don't know that yet. So anyhow, so there's a lot of different ways of tracking your contacts. You know, Joe and I were talking about this earlier. You know, it's and I'm definitely in agreement with this. You know, I've been in business for 10, 11 years, and I've collected investor business cards from all around the country. You know, I've got, you know, almost 3,000, it might be over 3,000 now, names in my contact list. Well, how many of those do you think are active buyers today? You know, a lot of them are not. And it's hard to manage that. I mean, you get that list that big, there's no way you're ever going to call them all. And, you know, if you send them an email, the email may have changed, they may still be in the business, but you don't have any idea if they're still in the business just because they changed their email address in the email box. So, you know, it's hard to keep those things purged. I'm slowly starting to purge my list through OpenRoad because there's an email contact system like Constant Contact and iContact right in OpenRoad, so I can tell if the email bounces. So that's one way I'm slowly starting to purge my stuff and clean it up a bit, but it is a challenge. So, you know, this is where the personal relationships